Everyone has ideas of what the problems are in our society and how to fix them. We took it one step further. Our premise is simple. Bring together people from different backgrounds to discuss ideas that affect us. If at the end of the show you feel informed, educated, or alarmed, we have done our job. We are the Social Disruption Network. Next segment. Well, there's a lot of things going on. We have state-sponsored assassinations happening. We have increases in military spending happening. We have the Russian tie to the, well, it all started with the Clintons. Then it happened where they got hold of the uranium, 20% of the U.S. uranium deposits. They donated $35 million to the Clinton organization. And now we have the ties between Russia and Trump staff and Trump. So how deep is this Russian infiltration into the government? How deep is this gonna go? Because this is just touching the surface right now. And it all began around 2005 when Bill Clinton went and negotiated these uranium deals. And immediately thereafter, his wife visited overseas in the Ukrainian part of the world. She became
It's in Kazakhstan, isn't it?
Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, some kind of craziest stand. But either way, it's a 20%. They took 20%. They created a deal where they got 20% of the U.S. uranium. The Clintons, at that same time, a partner who was part of that organization, made a donation to the Clinton Foundation in the term, two different ones that came out to about, I said 35, but it came out to about 25 because it was 21.5 and then 2.35 million. So about $25 million he gave to the Clinton Foundation after the deal was done. We get emails circulating about Clinton and her ties there. Russia gets involved in the election. We got Trump's business ties in Russia, Sessions and his dealings with Russia. We have the gentleman who had to leave, who had to pull out of his post in the Trump organization because of his ties to the Russians. How far does this go, guys?
So,
I mean,
my understanding,
it's very deep, and this is just the start. And if people start to look back, it can go all the way up to about 2005, three different administrations, millions and millions and millions of dollars. So, I mean, this is just the start of this whole thing. So,
but okay, but it's also important to recognize that Putin is a strategist and he's brutal and like he's very interested in his interests and the interests of Russia. So on one hand, some people on the left think, oh, like Trump and Putin are colluding and like they're best buddies and they're gonna like turn the United States into the USSA or something, somehow like there's gonna be some crazy deal between Russia and the United States that's gonna like make everything like, but at the same time, like we have the dossier, right, that says that that the Russian government for a while was like collecting information on Trump, and also that the Russians didn't expect Trump to win, even despite what they were doing. What they were really trying to do was they were just trying to damage Clinton as she ascended to the presidency. So I think it's a very complicated situation. I think that it is true that Trump has admiration for Putin because Putin is a kind of authoritarian and models a lot of the things that that Trump admires in lots of leaders. But I don't think it's as simple as some people are trying to make it seem. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe everything I'm saying is wrong. Like maybe it'll turn out to be wrong. I don't think any of us could actually know. But it seems like it's more complicated than what some people are claiming or suggesting.
Okay.
I think it's definitely a lot deeper than that. David, you had something to say?
Yeah, dude, you got it 100% right. Congratulations. We will never know the full depth this goes into. For the basic reason is because you have the Clintons involved, as Gil very well put it together. I mean, high marks for that. And they have got such a good way to hide everything in the rabbit hole. It's not even funny. And you also have members of the press that will do whatever they can to make sure that they don't besmirch the Clinton name. It's just not going to happen. And then you have people on the right, which will do whatever they can to keep Trump somewhat
protected.
Yeah, I'll use protected. That's a decent. Are there earthquakes going in Lafayette or something, man? Are you all right?
No, since my legs are, my laptop's sitting on my knees, and my knees are giving out on me. They're hurting.
Starting to wonder if I need to go jump in the tub or something, dude. I'm kind of worried about you.
No, I'm good.
But you have people on the right that have been out of power for so long, as far as between Bush, centralist, and Obama, being a Democrat, that they've got so many skeletons in the closet that's been there for a decade, they don't know what to do with it. So they're also going to hide it. And then you also have Russia. You got to keep in mind, Russia's not our enemy anymore. I mean, if you're looking at our number one overseas economic enemy, it's not Russia. They're not that big of a problem for us anymore, but Russia still has a lot of deep ties to us as far as secrets, as far as intelligence community. And we've been so anti-Russia for so long, it's kind of flipped the other way. So you have a whole lot of skeletons and a whole lot of closets that neither the left nor the right really want to dig out of. If we still had an investigative press that didn't care about politics, it would be unreal the stuff they would uncover. If you could take some of these reporters from the 50s and 60s and bring them to today, it would be unreal what they would uncover.
There are some guys at the Washington Post that are looking very deep into this now, but they started with the Clinton Foundation, where I got most of that information from, is the Washington Post. Now, very left-leaning, but they still are on it. And I think that this is just the beginning. I don't see, first and foremost, I don't see how Hillary Clinton wasn't, or the Clinton Foundation wasn't dissolved and charges brought against both Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Secondly, I think that if anything's going to hurt Trump, it's going to be his relationship and his staff's relationship with Russia before the election. There's just too many little similarities going on with all these officials that he's putting into power. And we're finding out after the fact that they all have this relationship with Russia that they're not disclosing. Something is there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And in this case, I love the guy. I truly do. But something is not right.
And I'm glad that we're all talking shit on the Clintons, because I think the Clintons are evil. But
okay, now it's snowing outside.
But that is crazy, because I mean, like, even Keith Ellison, like, not becoming DNC chair, basically because he supported Bernie Sanders. Like, the Democratic Party right now is a disaster.
Yeah,
and it has so much to do with the Clintons. Like, I just had to, like, get that in, because.
But here's something. Let me throw this out here. Let me ask you a question. If you're going to build a power base and you're going to have an overseas power base, okay, you can't go to Britain anymore, because old guard Republicans kind of screwed that up. You got Tony and all the rest of that really screwed that up. You can't go to Germany, because Germany's becoming really isolationist, and they're becoming really protectorate of the EU. So they don't really care what's going on with us anymore. You can't go to the Middle East, because the left's already got that tied up. And the last time a Republican went to the Middle East to try to build a power base, it was Bob Dolan. You saw how much that really happened. He basically became a pariah within the Republican Party. You can't go to China, because everybody's scared of China, and rightfully so. You can't go to Japan, because they don't really care anymore. So who's really left as a major economic power where you can build an overseas power base? Russia. That's it. Yeah, you don't really have any overseas country where you can really build a power base.
But I'm lost when you say a power base. What do you mean by a power base? Because that doesn't make sense, because I don't see Putin as sharing any type of power. Now, he'll trade economic power or economic status, because they are a huge their economy is turned similar to ours, except it's state sponsored, but they're still a user base similar to ours. But I don't understand the power base, the expansion of a power base. What do you mean by that?
Okay, if you're a politician, you need to go hide $100 million, or you need to get $100 million to put in a slush fund. Where do you go?
Okay.
And it's been that way since after World War II. Where could you go to get stuff done? If you've got to get rid of 1,000 M1 Abrams tanks, where could you send that technology? If you've got to find something for General Dynamics to do, they've got to build 100 aircraft engines. Where can you send those?
Dave's been
Well,
listening to too much Alex Jones.
yeah, but
I don't know who that is, but okay.
but according to all the standards that we have, no American company can sell or contract their labor out to build parts for militaries of any of those countries. So I don't understand that.
Spencer,
Boeing can't get hired. Boeing can't get hired by Russia to build aircraft. They just can't.
They can build
Spen-
parts.
Spencer, you're the only one who hasn't talked yet.
I'm getting educated because I'm just like learning all this stuff
You
as
see,
you guys are talking.
and
So don't.
I thought that meant now. Can they get them backdoor and can they can they back in the technology? In other words, buy the parts and then have another company take the technology and build an exact replica. Yes, but those American companies can't sell directly to foreign entities. It's impossible. They can't do that. I know that for a fact. I was in the military for a long time, so I know that for a fact. So, but I mean, I know what you're saying now. I realize what you're saying as far as that slush fund and getting the money for favors that they would need. I just think, man, look,
Basically where would you go to do some dirty work? I guess is
Yeah. If you need to get something done and you don't want the Washington Post to find out, who can you call? It's your quote unquote backdoor channels that we had all through the 80s.
yeah.
I mean, it used to be where the U.S. and England were sort of lockstep as far as everything one wanted to do. And unfortunately, in the 80s and early 90s, that fell apart. So
What
you had to have, well, it was more Bush more than anything else. But you had to have other countries kind of come involved to kind of fill that space because it wasn't so much us versus Russia. Now it's kind of everybody scrambling, and you have a base in the U.S., you have a base in the EU, you have a base in the Middle East, you've got China, et cetera, and so forth. So you've got more power players involved, and it's who you tie yourself into. And unfortunately, in the U.S. doesn't. It's not unified at the top. You have different players that go pull for different countries. It's like Bob Dole pretty much needed to go, get citizenship in the Middle East for some of the stuff he did.
all I know is this is the start. This is the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And there's going to be a lot more information, and there's something's bad going to happen with this administration and its ties to Russia. Something happened somewhere. Somebody's going to find it. Somebody's going to go down hard for it. I know that for a fact. I feel that without a shadow of a doubt.
I think that the geopolitics have just changed over time. I mean, we're not in the Cold War, and so I think Dave he's not even listening anymore. Like this is supposed to be directed. Okay, yeah, Dave's back now. Dave, you hear me?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that I just think that the geopolitics are different at this point. Like there's not a clear enemy for the West to kind of direct their attention at. So, yeah, but it's not the USSR. We're not having like Star Wars and like an arms race and all these different things. So it's a very different situation in terms of people being willing to take risks and to do things that are more shady or whatever in order to advance national interests and geopolitical interests. I just see the kind of power dynamics are very different. Where now it's kind of just everybody for themselves because the perceived enemies are kind of more diffuse. There are more of them. It's just more complicated.
Well, I remember going into the military in 1988, and the concentration for us in the intelligence community was Russia. We had safes full of top secret information for every ship, plane, everything that they owned. And then within 2 years, by 1990, late 89, we were concentrating on the Middle East. That's how fast things change. And Russia was no longer a concentrated power. We were focused on the Middle East. We were focused on uh, that whole area in the Persian Gulf area, and then now we're concentrating on that area both economically and militarily, the Middle East. So who knows, man?